Yes, my friends, you must be thinking that I'm driving some sort of performance car with maybe a straight 6 engine in it, nice exhaust setup, 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, but no, my friends, this is not anything close to that. This is the 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 5N. It is a fully electric sports car, but it sounds just like the real thing. I'm going to turn down the N active noise system here just so that you can actually hear me as I'm talking, because I have it up to 20, the maximum it will go. And I gotta say, that really leads into the whole thing about this car, because I have to say that I have been thoroughly impressed with this vehicle. In fact, I kind of have to give an apology to Hyundai, because when I was thinking about this car, I booked it and I thought, oh, it's kind of coming after the BMW i7 M70, which is a $227,000 full-size luxury sedan that does 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. I figured this, for a fraction of the cost, doing it in 3.5 seconds, makes a whole lot of sense. Much smaller vehicle, and it should be quite a bit quicker. But I was wrong. It is more than just 0.2 seconds quicker than a BMW i7 M70. This thing is truly one of the most important electric vehicles I have driven. And it's the most important because it is the least like any electric vehicle I've driven. This vehicle isn't trying to be energy efficient or green, anything like that, even though the interior still uses recycled materials and it is still an electric vehicle, so you're not spending money on gas. But this really is the least like any electric in the sense that it is meant to be a sports car. One of the core values of the Hyundai N division is to create everyday sports cars, things that you can live with and still have fun on the weekends. And a vehicle like this, not only are you going to be having fun on the weekend, you're going to have fun every single day. I have not had a frown on my face the entire time I've had this thing. And it is expensive, but this shows what the potential for the electric performance vehicles can be, because it isn't just making it a little bit quicker, slapping a couple badges on it, and calling it a day. Hyundai has really gone ahead and engineered this to be a true sports electric vehicle. We're going to go over all of that when we're out of the vehicle. But I wanted to make sure we got the good stuff started first, i.e. going around and ripping this vehicle, because that is pretty much all I have done with the IONIQ 5N all week. This thing is just a thrill to drive, especially in the way I've got it set up. We've got a couple N buttons here. That allows you to change into your N mode. So the normal N mode is Sport Plus everything, and then limited traction and stability. I don't want to die, so I turn on the traction and stability because A, don't want to die, B, don't want to have to call Hyundai and tell them that their $82,000 sports car is in a ditch. So I keep it simple and keep it safe. The right N button changes between the regular drive mode, you've got regen braking, things like that, or the N shifting. And I have to say, I thought this was silly on paper. I thought, why would you ever want to shift an electric vehicle? Boy, was I wrong, and it's rare that I'm wrong, but I was very, very wrong about this. This car has been so much fun driving it around in manual shift mode, and I can't believe it. I drove all the way home with this car, 175 kilometers to get from picking it up to home. I drove a fully electric car in manual shift mode. Why? Because it's so fun. And I mean, they have designed this setup to be so realistic that it really does feel like a full gas car. So for example, we're cruising here 65 kilometers an hour, we're in second gear. If I rip it, whoa, you can feel, watch. When I shift, the car bounces. Just like a regular car, when you're shifting gears, you're losing a tiny bit of power in between those shifts. This car simulates that. Downshifts too. I mean, it's just like a 8-speed DCT. It is super fast. You've got the pops coming out of the back. You've got the sound of the exhaust. Oh my God. This is what I was not expecting, really. I mean, I had no idea this was so good. And one of the reasons why as I've been posting about this vehicle throughout the week that I've had it, I've said that this is one of those cars that you have to drive. I can tell you all about it. I can show you in the videos, and you can look at my photos and read my review. It really doesn't do this vehicle justice. You have got to drive this car to fully understand it. And I have to say that this has been one of the most exciting weeks I've had driving around in a press car, because it just does something that no other car has done, which is simulate the driving experience of a gas vehicle while being fully electric. And I mean, if that isn't Nile, I don't know what is. So let's pass this truck. Oh, buddy. I mean, just effortless performance from this vehicle. It is so fast. And really, I mean, it sounds good. You've got a couple options too for the N active sound. We've got the ignition, which simulates a 4-cylinder N car from Hyundai, so like the Kona, Veloster, or Elantra. Put it into evolution. It's kind of like inspired from one of their concept vehicles. You can hear it does still have like an engine sound, but it is distinctively futuristic. But I think the coolest one is when we put it into supersonic. Now, Hyundai says that this is inspired from a jet fighter, and I didn't realize that we're coming into a little town here, so we will just kind of chill a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit about some of the other stuff before we rip it, because the energy efficiency hasn't been good, and that's sort of to be expected, but it is one of the key differences between Hyundai and where they're maybe a little bit behind. For example, this vehicle, it completed our test loop in 21.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which isn't too bad for, like, you know, the IONIQ 5 in general and some of the other electric cars we've driven from Hyundai. But when you compare it to the BMW, which is a big vehicle, that is a full-size luxury sedan, that completed it in 19.2. So quite a bit more efficient. This is a smaller vehicle. So I think that's one area that Hyundai is lacking in. And you can't argue that this is because it's a performance vehicle. The i7 M70 was as well. And even the i5 M60 that we drove, even better fuel efficiency. It was in the 17. So that's one thing that Hyundai will need to work on, is their energy management and overall efficiency. Now that we're out of town, here's supersonic. Yeah, you hit it right there, right at the sort of red line, the fake red line, and it gives you like a sonic boom sound. Oh, it's so cool. I mean, like, you can just have fun, and that's really the point of this car. It's not about efficiency. It's not about, you know, how much range you can get out of it. This is about fun, and this is pretty much the maximum amount of fun you can get out of any vehicle today. I mean, it has been just a treat to be able to drive. And it handles well too. I mean, this car will take corners like nobody's business. You've got tons of controls within the N mode here. You can have torque distribution. So if you want the front motor to do a lot of the heavy lifting, or the rear, or just the rear, just the front, anything like that, you can configure all of those things through the N mode. You've got tons of data within the vehicle itself. And in fact, you know, one of the things that you can do with this is, if you are taking it on the track, it can actually calculate how much energy you're using per lap. So you can kind of see how far you're going to go. Now, we've set this up under the performance options to be in, when we go to the preconditioning, to do drag mode. Now, we're finally at the optimum battery temperature, allows us to get the absolute most. So basically, it's giving us 100% battery performance to be able to maximize the vehicle's speed. Track mode is going to decrease that by about 10% to give you a little bit longer range. So again, if you're doing track, you want to do more laps, that's the way to go. But we are in drag mode, which means we do need to do launch control. Now, launch control disables my shifting, which makes sense. It activates N boost automatically, gives us the full 641 horsepower of this vehicle. Oh my God, it just melts your body. 100. Like, look at that. That was effortless. Like, I can't quite explain how, like, I wasn't making a noise out of my mouth because, you know, for dramatic effect. Like, my vocal cords were being pulled into the back of my neck. So let's try it again. And look, brakes. Whoa. Oh, it feels all going forward again. Oh my God. It's so fast. It's crazy. I mean, everything in my body goes into the back of the seat. It's so good. I mean, you know, we've driven performance electrics before. This just it takes the cake. So you've got things like that. It is more than just a little bit of software. They really have engineered this vehicle to be more than a regular IONIQ 5, and they have engineered it to be really the best sports electric vehicle that money can buy, because anything else that you're going to be looking at that has this level of performance is going to start at twice the price. So I know 81K is kind of expensive, but for what you're getting out of it, this really does live up to what Hyundai has set out for their N brand. Now, I will leave you with a little bit of driving here. I'm not going to be talking. We're just going to enjoy the drive. I've put the N active sound back up to maximum, so enjoy. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I mean, this has been my whole week. I've been just driving like this. Well, I hope you enjoyed riding along with me in the 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 5N. It was a lot of fun to be able to film it. I've enjoyed my time with it. And as I mentioned, you really got to experience this car firsthand to understand it fully. Pricing for this vehicle, $80,000 and change here in Canada. That includes the $250 paint job. However, in the States, you're looking at $67,000 fully equipped, but the paint is $470. And we've noticed that quite a bit over the last little while, that the paint in the US seems to be more money. Underneath the hood is a 2-motor electric all-wheel drive system. Yes, there's no front storage on this. You can see the front motor here. Total system output, as I mentioned, under normal circumstances is 601 horsepower, 641 horsepower when you get the N Grin boost button activated. Now for 2025, this vehicle gets an 84 kilowatt hour battery, which is kind of what we would expect to see in this segment anyway. So a little bit more range for your regular IONIQ 5. And then this, like I said, is rated for like 360 kilometers or something like that. It depends on how you drive. You might get more, you're probably gonna get less. And that's one of the downsides to this. Like I said, BMW currently is doing a much better job with their energy management. So that's something where Hyundai will need to improve on, because, you know, as I mentioned, a daily driver like this, you don't necessarily need to have 500 kilometers, but it would be a little bit of an easier pill to swallow if you were getting about that with all the performance and everything with it for $80,000. Now, there's a lot going on with this vehicle. As I mentioned, it's not just a body kit. It's not just a couple badges. The N division at Hyundai has really come out with something truly different. We have N-tuned brakes. They're 15.75 inches on the front, 14.2 inches on the rear. But regen is how this vehicle will slow down under almost all conditions. The brakes are really there as a last resort or to provide a little bit of extra braking. So day-to-day driving, it's going to be regen braking. If you're on the track though, you're going to be noticing that. And there is an N pedal mode, which takes the usual one pedal driving with the regen braking and just makes it even more track oriented. I haven't used it because we're not on a track, but it will help to provide better braking considering this vehicle is so heavy, with maximizing the actual regen capability. So those are track focused options that are added onto this vehicle. We talked about it on the drive. We have the N E-Shift and the N Active Sound Plus system. It simulates that 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission from Hyundai's other N vehicles. It controls the motor torque output as well as simulating those power shifts between shifts. So as I mentioned, as we're driving up, we're getting to that red line and we shifted, the vehicle kind of jerks a little bit, just as a regular transmission would on a gas powered vehicle. You don't need to use those features if you don't want. You can keep this vehicle in full, regular EV mode and have the full performance. But again, it simulates it so well that it really does feel like you're driving a gas car. It's not just putting a bit of sound on it, say like the Mustang Mach-E. They really have engineered this vehicle to perform in a way that is unreal. It really does feel like you're driving a real life video game simulator. Now overall, the IONIQ 5N is 0.79 inches lower than the regular IONIQ 5. It's also 2 inches wider at the bottom. You'll see that when you get into the vehicle, the doors, they just open up with a bit bigger gap between the actual floor and the outside. They made that wider so that these wheels can fit, giving you much more wheel width, and then obviously it fills it up quite well with these wheels. And we also have 3.2 inches of overall length increase. It's mostly the diffuser to help with overall aerodynamics. But wait, there's more. 21-inch forged aluminum wheels. As I mentioned, with that extra width of the vehicle, it really does fill up the wheel wells nicely. They're on 275 35 R21 Pirelli P0 summer tires. The grip on this is excellent. You would want that from a performance vehicle. Now the inside also gets some updates. We have a console which includes knee pads and shin support for more comfortable cornering. It's not just because Hyundai heard feedback from people saying that they wanted something in the middle there. It is to actually help. When you take those hard corners, you're going to want to have something to stop you from moving around. And then we also have the N racing seats with the reinforced bolsters. The seats themselves are positioned about 0.79 inches lower than the regular IONIQ 5. That allows for better weight balance. And the bolstering both on the side of the back and the bottom is quite firm. I have to say, as a big guy, I'm sitting on the bolsters more than I am on the seat. That's a me problem. But let me know in the comments below, because I've nicknamed these seats the testy twisters, because when I step out of the vehicle, my gentleman's area is hitting those bolsters and it does twist them a little bit. So let me know if that's a me problem or a you problem. But Nile, you say this is pretty much all cosmetic stuff, and you told us that this is more than just a couple badges and a little bit more power out of the motors. And yes, you're correct. 42 additional weld points and 6.9 feet of additional structural adhesive were added to this vehicle to improve the overall rigidity of the frame. The motor and battery mountings are also reinforced, along with the front and rear subframes have better lateral rigidity. That means you're going to be quartering better, you're going to be able to push this vehicle harder, and you're not going to feel really any body movement with the vehicle. You're not going to feel any twisting and turning. The vehicle will feel planted solid, and there are not going to be any creaks and rattles. And so far, that's one of the things that we've noticed on this, is the interior is holding up pretty well. It's only got 4,000 kilometers or so on it, but that has been a complaint with other IONIQ 5 models. There's also World Rally Championship inspired axles for improved strength, which also help to reduce the weight of the vehicle, as well as the N specific steering gives you a quicker steering ratio, as well as enhanced torque feedback as you're driving along. Because again, this vehicle is fully electric. Everything is drive by wire, steer by wire, brake by wire. Everything is electric. So there's nothing physical connecting the steering wheel to the actual front wheels. It's all electronic. So making those things improved and giving you better feedback gives you a much more linear feel as you're on the road, giving you more feedback as you're driving. If you are taking this on the track, you're going to want those things, and that has been improved on this vehicle. Now, we mentioned some of the extra tech that comes on this, like the N pedal. That's where you're on the racetrack. The vehicle will decelerate using the one pedal drive mode for better control. You also have the N drift optimization, which we're not testing here, but gives you better control if you're drifting, giving you a little bit more kick out with the rear, actually optimizing the actual vehicle for better drift performance. The N torque distribution, as I mentioned on the road, will also help to adjust which direction your torque will be, in the front or the back. You can configure it to your liking. The N brake regen is also heavily designed for this vehicle for maximum regen to get as much energy back, much like a Formula One car. And then there's also the track SOC, or the state of charge system. That allows you to see exactly how much state of charge you have based on every lap you're doing. So if you go to a track and you really want to maximize your time there, whether it's for 20 laps or 30 laps, you can see exactly how much you're using per lap, so you can essentially guess or estimate how much range you'll have when you're done. You know, at this time, I don't think there's a lot of racetracks that have level 3 chargers or even level 2 chargers to be able to charge your vehicle up, so you do need to plan that. If you are taking this vehicle to a track day, you're going to want to make sure that you can A, get there, B, have fun while you're on the track, but then also C, get home. But as I mentioned when we started off this video, this is one of the rare vehicles that has truly surprised me. It has given me much more than I could have ever asked for. I've enjoyed my time with this vehicle thoroughly, and again, I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to actually drive this. If you are in the market, if you can afford, say, like a BMW M car, like an M2 or an M3, I know that those are starting to get even more pricey than this, but for 80 grand, you're getting an extremely capable vehicle with really good handling, really good performance. The ride is good as well. You know, you'd think even with the 21-inch rims and a little bit lower, it would be pretty harsh, but it's firm just like any other BMW M car would be, but you're getting it for a fraction of the price. So I would really consider this vehicle. If I were in the market for a toy, right? Something that I could drive around and have fun with, this is really at the top of my list now. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, and I just have been looking for excuses to take it on the road, because everything that I love about an electric car almost doesn't matter with this. Yes, I'm still getting decent enough range. I'm not going to the gas station. I've got a charger at home. So all the things that I like about electrics like that, but you're getting just true performance and a real driving experience that no other electric has really been able to simulate. And that's really what this car does. The simulation factor is extreme on this, and until you drive it, you won't fully understand it. So I highly recommend doing it. If you have any questions about this vehicle, as always, we do try to get back to everybody in the comments. We have a new merch store with different shirts available, as well as some different swag that you can purchase to help support our channel, and also consider becoming a member to get extra perks. In the links below, we've got access to our Facebook page as well as our Discord server. If you want to check that out, you can chat with us directly through there. But as always, we appreciate you watching, and until next time, take care.